Well, hello and welcome. I'm Sue Britz,
And I'm Tina Lokkbakk. Welcome to Retired.
the podcast where we talk about what life is like when we put on new tread, new wheels that move us to our next adventure. Happy Valentine's Day.
Oh, happy Valentine's Day.
Yeah. Why are you saying it like that?
Because I forgot.
This is the reason why we chose this.
Topic, of
Yes,
course. But I think it's just an important topic that we could talk about any day.
that's true. But this is apropos to this
It
day
sure
that,
is.
yes, you crack me up. Okay.
Yeah.
Understand, listeners, she is sitting there in Norway still. And she told me before we went on mic that tomorrow she's getting up at 3 o'clock in the morning to start her travels back to California. So here we go. So seriously, happy Valentine's Day, because it's supposed to be about love and we are friends, and it takes us back to those school days where we come in, happy day of love to all the kids, and everyone has to bring a Valentine for everyone else, and understanding that love doesn't have to be this romantic love. It can be as much as being just a member of your community, in your classroom community, and that's what it is. And so even if you don't want to bring a Valentine for everybody, you're going to. That's kind of unconditional, isn't it?
Well, you just brought back the whole Valentine's Day in a classroom and the whole thing. I have a lot to say. I don't love Valentine's Day unconditionally at all.
You don't love Valentine's Day
No, I
unconditionally.
don't.
Yes, there are conditions to it, and I think we both agree that all the hoopla about buying and stuff and the requirement, and then leaving, if you're not in love with someone or in a relationship, you're feeling left out, and all the things
I
that, yeah.
I just standing on the soapbox. I just think it's such a capitalistic thing that we've done that spread to the rest of the world. It started with us because we could make a shit ton of money by selling candy and having cards. And I think I've always felt just you love someone, you're going to show it every day. It doesn't have to be and shouldn't just be on this designated day that somebody decided was Valentine's Day.
I agree.
It's that love should be every single day. And I think there's a big pressure. I think I don't know if we're going to cut this or not, but I think it's kind of like you can't force an erection, you know? And I think that there's a lot of pressure with Valentine's Day that for me, I kind of, if I had erectile dysfunction, that's how I feel about Valentine's Day as a day. I think it should be something that should be all year round.
So you think an erection should be all year round?
Yeah.
I don't.
No, it's not that. I don't even know how I came up with that, but I think it really bothers me because the pressure, that's where it comes from. It's this pressure to express love on a designated day. And then when it becomes this designated day, I don't feel it because somebody told me I should be feeling it, buying for it, and I may not be in the mood that day. That's what I really want to say about it. It's just no. I express it perhaps on March 23rd, just
Okay.
because that's the day I feel it. So, but now it's like you don't want to hurt the person you love. So then you feel like, okay, I've got to schlep to the store. What am I going to get? Instead of some random day where you feel like, oh, I really want to make my person an incredible dinner, or I found this incredible gift that I just want to give. Then it comes from the heart. But to me, as soon as you say it has to be done on this day, I don't want to do it.
Yes, that's the antithesis of unconditional. Let me just say, though, I have fond memories from when I was a child. So, now, granted, this is a long time ago, people. When you'd
Just a
go to,
couple scores
when
ago.
we were kids and you went to school and they didn't even have it was unusual to have the boxed Valentines that were pre-made. That
Right.
was, yeah. And so people made their own Valentines, and that idea and the excitement, the fun of giving and receiving from your classmates, this community of kids that you spend every day with. I enjoyed it, and that I think of sitting down and cutting out hearts and gluing it together, and then putting them in the little shoebox mailboxes that you made and put on your desks, and that was fun. And it seemed to me, maybe it's because I was a child then, but more heartfelt because it was, the assumption, the understanding was everyone's going to get one, so everyone's included. And it wasn't about, what was written on there because it was probably the same thing written on everybody's same thing. Happy Valentine's Day. That was it. So it was a day where we recognized that we're in this community together. I really liked that as a kid, but I understand totally what you mean. As it got on, then it had to include candy, and then it was these. It was a competition of who had the best one, and
Yeah.
and it's like, oh, it's too much. And then when the romantic part come into play, like who do you give in school where they gave those Valentine's secret Valentines to somebody. If you didn't get a card or a flower, you felt left out, and when you sent one to somebody, yeah, it's too much, too
See,
much.
that's where you're bringing back the whole trauma of it all. And I think back in our day, we did not have everyone shall get one. So then you sat there and you saw somebody else's desk overflowing and you've got like three. And you're like, but I'm a nice
Oh.
person. So, and then it fast forward into this day and age. Well, now everyone will have one, but then it means nothing.
No, it
So it's
doesn't. It's a
almost,
recognition of, see, when it's a store-bought one and you're just handing them out and there's no thought to it, then it is.
yeah,
But when it's you sitting down and you're making one and you've been taught, you've been encouraged, you've been shown and you're feeling that you're spending your day in a community, then this is what you're doing. You're honoring that community, and that is a form of love. It's not, the romantic love that we supposedly are going to be talking about today or whatever, but love.
perhaps you had a teacher that got it and could manage to project that and teach that to to the students. And so maybe your experience was different and mine were not.
Yeah, maybe that's the case. Certainly I thought as a kid, from my point of view, it was kind of just like the feeling of the community because it was pretty standard all the way through my elementary school. But I did go to one school, so maybe that accounted for it. Yeah. Kudos to Plum Elementary. Yay.
And I'm going to say, oddly enough, that my most favorite Valentine's Day was during COVID because I felt so connected to those kids and I felt so bad they couldn't have Valentines that I did make handmade Valentines and dropped off candy and I drove to every single kid's house that I could and made sure that they got a Valentine's Day. And that, interestingly enough, isn't it funny? It wasn't the receiving of it.
Mm-hmm.
It was the ability to give.
Right. Well,
And that was a joy. And
yep.
and it did make an impact because we were all feeling so crappy. So it was such an appreciated thing to do for the kids even. So that was probably my best Valentine's Day I ever had.
Well, I think there's a lot to that. The giving is more often the whole point of the thing. So.
Yeah.
Okay, Tina. So tell me, what is unconditional love? What's your definition?
It is to love someone so completely and you expect nothing in return, including love back. And for you, what is your definition?
Well, I think that is the idea of unconditional love, that there are no conditions to it. And the big part is not expecting any kind of reward, anything back in return. And and my issue with unconditional love is that they often is defined as this is your primary romantic relationship. Okay, you need, in order to love someone and be in this relationship with them, you need to love them unconditionally. And I call bullshit on that because even according to your definition, if you love someone without any expectation back, even if the love is not returned to you, that sounds like a really dysfunctional relationship. And I think that that has been sold to us. Again, just like all the other trappings of Valentine's Day, this thing of you need to love him unconditionally. You need to love him. Just keep loving him. And the it's like knocking your head against the wall if it's not reciprocated. So you either expect in this romantic ideal that the someone's going to change and love you in return, but then that's not unconditional. Or
Yeah, that's true.
right. Or
That's passive condition.
yes. Or, if they don't, then your job is just to keep loving and keep loving. And there's nothing left of you. You've given everything. Or you can leave the relationship, but then you've just broken the unconditional love because, you broke it. So I don't believe in unconditional love for a romantic relationship. I think a romantic relationship requires that both people be in it. And when society teaches only one person needs to be in it, or, uh, you know, more typically, it's the woman who is romantically, oh, I'm going to love him no matter what, you know. But then when he fails, and there's no learning involved and no real commitment on the other's behalf to love in return, to also be in an unconditional love relationship. Um, that's a problem. I think it's a fairy tale. I think it's a myth. And I think it's setting people up, especially women, for a toxic relationship of abuse.
So I concur 100% with you. Couldn't be better said. And I think that's where I felt in my former marriage that I did give 100%. But I really believe that. I really did try and love him and show him 100%. However, what I wanted in return was for it to come back. So in a way, it wasn't it was conditional love.
Absolutely.
So so what you said is so spot on. And of course, it couldn't come back because some people are just not capable of love. I know that sounds odd, but some people aren't. So I was bleeding into space and never getting blood put back in. And so I think you're right. But I do believe it exists, and I'll tell you in two situations.
I agree, and we'll talk about that. Let's just finish the
Yes,
dissection of
please, let's do.
unconditional love in a romantic relationship.
Yeah.
Um, the other one is, so you're a young person, you don't know the whole world, you don't even know yourself, and you are expected to choose this person to love unconditionally. You don't know them. And even as an older person, you don't know the person until you're living with them and you go through life's trials, the ups and the downs that you're supposed to be there for. In a partnership, people understand there's risks, and you have common goals, you have a common purpose, and so you are able to negotiate that. And that's what a partnership is you continue that negotiation with this common goal in mind. That sounds a lot more healthy. Um, than
And I need
just
to
go
interject.
ahead.
What you said, and it made me think, yes, you stick with it and you're in the ups and downs together. And what popped into my mind, it's on I'm looking at it on horizontal. It's the giving and taking and giving and taking. And there's got to be that reciprocity in there, which is
Absolutely.
exactly what you're saying.
Right.
So it's the up and down, the compromising, but there's got to be giving and taking back and forth. And yeah,
Yeah.
and that's not necessarily unconditional,
That's very
but it should be
conditional.
there.
Right.
It is.
It's very conditional. And that's what when you set up a partnership, you state what your goals are, you state what the rules are, you state all the legalities of it, and then you work towards that. And that is partnership. That sounds great. Not this thing of, all right, so you're going to love me unconditionally. I get to choose what I don't even know if I can do that, but whatever. Your role is to just keep loving me unconditionally, and I'm going to F up all the time, and you're just going to
Yeah.
love me anyhow. It's like, that's bull. That's bull. So anyhow, shall we move on to examples of the actual existence of
No, I just need to follow up on one thing that goes back to, you're right. It's a fairy tale that we've been fed. And I almost feel like part of graduation requirement is it should be that you are aware of the fact that no, that that's a fairy tale and it's incorrect. Someone needs to be teaching these little humans that no, in fact, you should not bleed yourself out onto the street for another human, especially one that never gives it back. Like, I think that's got to be taught somewhere. And I think there are too many people that don't know. And you're right, it's parents, it's society, it's everything, but I think we need modeling of what healthy is, because maybe lots of us have not come from healthy to know what healthy should be.
Right.
And you should have a graduation requirement on this is what a toxic relationship looks like. This is what a healthy relationship should look like. And the whole concept of unconditional love. You're right. I think that we should have a bonfire, throw in papers that say unconditional love, and put it in the burner.
There's components of unconditional love that I mean, you can aspire towards it, and there's the components of unconditional love that could be useful. So, like, you don't give up on someone, you recognize their weaknesses, but there's a condition in there that means that they understand their weaknesses, that we all understand our own weaknesses, and we work on them. We work on growing and
Yeah.
learning and improving,
And
and
trying.
yes, and the belief in them that they can, and the belief in ourselves that we can, and that is aspiring to this unconditional thing. But the
Ooh,
basic assumption underneath it all is that it's mutual. And so that is a condition of that love is mutuality. It's got to be that way. End of the fairy tale, right? Okay.
yeah. We need like a special non-marriage song.
What?
Like, going into a relationship, you got Here Comes the Bride, like the traditional music.
Ah.
We need like an anti-marriage one. I don't know. That's just, yeah, anti-unconditional love. I don't know. We should have respectful love.
Yes.
And that's kind of what you were
That's a
saying.
condition. Yeah.
And that should be the condition.
Yes.
Because you're right, we all screw up, we all have our weaknesses, but it's really, you're right. Can I respect the other person's needs enough? And can they respect my needs and what I need to be a better person? So if there's mutual respect for each other to grow and to be kind while we're learning to grow.
Right.
But again, it takes two people, not just one.
Right.
It takes respect from both sides.
So we agree that unconditional love can exist. When
Yes.
you said there were two. So
Yes.
so tell me what you think.
I'll tell you my first one. I think that dogs truly have unconditional love when you show them, and maybe it's not unconditional.
Oh, so you're taking it
Maybe,
back already?
yeah, because I got to thinking that, because I think about, I had never felt unconditional love. My mom was very conditional. Um, I think my dad might have been unconditional love, actually. But my dog was the first time that I realized that even when I didn't take him on walks, even when I had a crappy day, and it might have been a few days of no walks, even if, because when I was going through that hard period, I couldn't give him all of me like I had before. But he kept showing up and he kept showing up and he kept giving the love to me. So he was the first time, and I realized that the marriage would be going south when I said to him, like, if you were human, I would choose to marry you, because I think he treated me better than my ex. So, and that is the truth. So he taught me that, oh my gosh, even if I'm not perfect, even if I do screw up, even if I can't give him what he needs right now, he still keeps showing up and he's loving me.
Yeah.
But where
Pets
I
pets
wanted,
do that.
yeah, go
Yeah,
ahead.
I agree. I think, if we can get close to the true definition, and I'm very literal with the language, um, that's about as close as you're gonna get. The love of a pet, specifically dogs, um, I think gets pretty close there, and, dog spelled backward is God, so that kind of,
Oh, that's cute.
yeah. No, but as you were saying all that, you also realized that the dog does depend on you for food and shelter and all those things, and so there is a condition there. The dog, however, I think we all have seen this where the dog just keeps loving, even if they aren't fed. These rescue dogs, they're not being fed, they're being mistreated, they still love. And, we'll also see them bite and fight and all those things too. But yeah, I think it's as close as it gets is with a dog.
But I was wondering, and that's when I almost kind of wanted to retract the whole statement because I thought, well, maybe it's because I built a foundation with him because I was showing up so well at one point. I was there for him and gave him 100% of me. That from that foundation, he had the ability to keep showing up for me when I
Mhm.
couldn't. So
Yep.
maybe there is reciprocity there
Yep.
as well, which
Yep.
is why maybe it wasn't unconditional. It was the foundation, and he knew we had a foundation. But you do hear about abused dogs that keep coming back, but
Yep.
maybe that isn't love.
Well, just like
Maybe
human
that's
beings. Just like
what's that?
human beings too, who
God,
are
yeah.
beaten and destroyed and emotionally, and they keep coming back. And so is that unconditional love, or is that, yeah, what is that? That's a whole nother topic. But all right, what's your other topic? What's your other example of unconditional love?
Well, and this kind of can tie into our whole name of the podcast, part of retiring. So I just assumed that when you have kids and you love them with all your heart, that there would always be a relationship and they would always give it back to you. And that they should, because I loved my mom and she was far from perfect. So I just assumed that that's how it worked. And when my eldest daughter had really cut me out from the pain of all the divorce and so much more, um, what I had learned from that was that she was not going to give it back. And then as I kept healing through this journey of, oh my gosh, I don't have my child in my life, I've been giving, but there was this underlying thing at the beginning where, but she should give it back to me because I stayed up with her. I changed every diaper. I got up every night. I was there 100%. I quit my job. I changed my life. Like there should be some of this coming back, which I realized was, ooh, that was kind of an expectation, right?
Mhm.
Which is kind of a condition, really, that if I give of myself 100%, then of course she would never not have contact.
Mhm.
So as I healed though, and ironically, as the relationship opened up again, it was the ability, it was like 2 months before that door opened back up, where I had decided that every day it didn't matter if she loved me anymore and that I just wanted to send her love. And
Mhm.
so I started a journal, just writing to her about my love for her. And every day I was writing in it, I would send her hearts and I stopped expecting anything in return because I realized I loved her no matter what.
Mhm.
So it
Right.
didn't matter if she hated me, I still am going to love her, not because I had to, but because I did. Not even because I wanted to. I actually wanted to not love her. It was too painful. But I realized that I loved her anyway. So I might as well express it, whether it goes out into the air and universe and the energy arrives at her doorstep. I don't know. So that was the realization like, oh my God, I not only can get unconditional love from my dog, but I can actually give unconditional love. And that was like a huge retirement and a huge change in my life. So it's possible, I believe, unconditional love. However, I'm back to the romantic part. I'm not so sure that can exist.
I hear you, and I think there is something very special about between a parent and their child, that that unconditional love, and I think that's the case. I mean, you love, you pour all your love and everything, your knowledge, your everything into this child, and send them. Our job is to send them off into the world, and knowing that they've been loved, um, and what they do with that is theirs then. And that love that you feel, that you felt as you were nurturing them and helping them grow up, and as they move on through life, you just keep sending that good love. Yeah, I agree. Yeah. Do we have any final thoughts on love?
Well,
On unconditional love.
I want to just share, since we're talking about love and all this topic, something that my mom had said mm, enough times that I remembered it, and it felt wrong to me. But then I could consciously understand it, what she was saying. But it's kind of sad. But she would always say, "Love, Tina, is selfish." Who?
Even as a
And
child,
that's,
huh?
yep. More like a teenager. I don't remember it as a child, but she said it enough times where I'm like, but mom, I don't think it is. Like in my whole body, my soul felt no, that's wrong. But I realized, my God, that was her perspective. And that's why I can say that her love felt very conditional to me.
Mhm.
Um, but in the end of every time she demonstrated that it was a selfishness in her, like extreme, in the end, she ended up doing the right thing. So I think that for her, the day to day love is a selfish thing. But when it got really down to it, I don't know that she actually lived that. I think in the end, it was actually unconditional.
It's so interesting, this whole thing of what everyone's been through and what love means, and then trying to figure out the different types of love, and giving and receiving is so different. Just, I mean, there is a lot of pleasure in giving love, like you described with your giving students Valentines and so forth, and being kind and putting that out in the world. And that gives a lot to you, to the giver. Um,
Ooh,
it
yes.
really does. And so you're already, in giving it out, you are receiving back in all the love that you're feeling, that you're putting in the world. So there's no one giving that back to you. It's you giving it to yourself, which is kind of a beautiful thing. Um, yeah,
But I think that's what exactly she was saying is you may be giving it out, but you're getting something in return. So you're actually doing it for yourself,
yourself, which is
which
selfish.
then is selfish.
Yeah,
So in a way, so logically, I'm like, wow,
yeah.
yeah,
We're
how's
humans.
that?
We're
Food for
humans.
thought.
Yeah. We're humans. I just really don't. Like coming back full circle to what you started of, if someone
Yeah.
tells me that you're doing this or you're doing that, and no, and there's a big rejection to it, and I think most of us human beings feel that way. If you tell me to do it, you make me do it, then I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to feel it. How can I feel it? And so, I mean, that's just, we're human. It's human nature, but this thing of unconditional love, I think it's a big fairy tale that needs to be debunked.
Stand by you, Sue.
Okay. Thanks for listening. Now let's pack up this week's episode in the trunk.
Ride shotgun and be part of our adventure by clicking on the plus sign to subscribe and follow our show. That would show us love. This will help our ratings and, more importantly, inspire us to keep creating fun and engaging content. We would love to hear from you in the comments sections or email us at retiredpodcastnewtred@gmail.com. Use the fast track lane by sharing episodes with friends, family, and anyone who would like to join us on our road trip to the retirement.
Be sure to check the show notes for links and contact information. Retired is chauffeured by Sue Britz and Tina Lokkbakk. It is produced, directed, and edited by me, Sue Britz. Music and graphics are by me too. Buckle up and tune in next week so you won't miss your chance to join our retired road trip.